Have you ever been invisible to everyone around you until the moment you spoke a truth no one wanted to hear? Grace Miller knew that feeling. This shy girl had spent years perfecting the art of disappearing. But on one ordinary Tuesday morning, she heard something that would change everything. A sound most people would never notice. The whisper of fabric against fingertips. The difference between truth and deception measured in the weight of a thread. And that single moment would turn her world upside down. It was 7:15 at the Halden Grand, where crystal chandeliers cost more than Grace earned in a year. At 27, she was invisible in her gray uniform pushing a cleaning cart through the Imperial Ballroom. Outside Manhattan was waking up to another day of ambition and noise. Inside the setup, crew was transforming the space for Carter Atelier's Heritage Collection showcase, the kind of event where a single suit could cost $8,000. Grace had mastered the art of moving like water around wealthy people. The designers with their Italian portfolios. The executives glued to their phones. She cleaned their spaces and disappeared before they could remember her face. This shy girl had learned that survival meant staying quiet. What happens when the only person who knows the truth is the one no one's listening to? When the navy fabric swatch slipped from the display table, Grace bent to retrieve it automatically. But as her fingers touched the material, something stopped her cold. She'd spent 3 years at the Fashion Institute of Technology before her father's sudden heart attack pulled her back to reality. Before medical bills replaced textbooks. Before dreams became luxuries she couldn't afford. Now she worked 2 jobs to keep her mother's medications coming and her younger sister in community college. The closest she got to fashion was listening to design podcasts while mopping floors at 2 in the morning when the hotel finally emptied and she could pretend the ballrooms belonged to her. She lifted the swatch carefully, tilted it toward the morning light, rubbed it between her thumb and forefinger, then brought it close to her ear and let it rustle. The sound was wrong. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. True hands will always find what's true, Grace. Always. That's odd, she whispered. Italian wool doesn't sound this dry. Real wool breathed. It had a softness to its friction like wind through autumn leaves. This sounded sharper, brittle, like paper tearing in slow motion. Excuse me, what do you think you're doing? Grace's head snapped up. A woman in a black blazer and crimson lipstick stood 3 feet away, arms crossed. Monica Reed, the creative director. I'm sorry it fell, I was just... That's a $1,500 sample, put it down, immediately. Grace set it back with trembling hands. Across the room, a man in a charcoal suit glanced over tall, sharp-featured, with the kind of presence that made spaces rearrange themselves around him. Liam Carter, the CEO himself. He watched for 3 seconds, then returned to his phone call. Grace grabbed her cart and hurried toward the service exit, her heart pounding. That evening, her supervisor found her restocking minibar chocolates. Have you seen the industry blogs today? Grace shook her head. Carter Atelier's been accused of using counterfeit fabrics. It's everywhere online. Grace's stomach dropped. She thought of the swatch, the dry wrong sound, and she wondered if this shy girl had just stumbled into something far bigger than herself. The emergency meeting was called for 8 the next morning. Grace had cleaned that conference room 100 times, but never imagined sitting in it. She wasn't supposed to be there, but Monica had made certain she was summoned. Liam Carter stood at the head of the table, exhaustion carved into his features. Around him sat department heads, lawyers, and consultants who charged more per hour than Grace made in a week. Monica sat to his right, perfectly composed, her red nails drumming a slow rhythm on the mahogany surface. Before we address the media, Monica began coolly, We need to identify how this contamination occurred. A hotel employee was observed mishandling our samples yesterday morning. All eyes turned to Grace standing by the door beside a security guard. I only picked up what fell, Grace said quietly. Nothing more. Really? Monica slid a photo across the table, a security still showing Grace holding the fabric to her ear. This is a professional showcase, not a place for hotel staff to play textile detective. Uncomfortable laughter rippled through the room. Liam studied the photo, then looked at Grace directly. You were listening to the fabric. His tone wasn't mocking. It was genuinely curious. Yes, sir. Why? Because real fabric tells you what it is, if you know how to listen. A lawyer scoffed. Monica's expression hardened, but Liam leaned forward. What did it tell you? Grace felt 20 pairs of eyes weighing her. Her pulse hammered. This was insane. She cleaned bathrooms. These people built empires. It told me something was wrong, she said carefully. Italian wool has a specific weight when it moves, a softness. What I heard sounded drier, sharper, like synthetic fiber was blended in. The room went silent. Monica's laugh was surgical. You're suggesting a housekeeper can identify fabric composition by sound. That's absurd. Is it? Liam's quiet voice cut through the tension. He turned to his production head. Pull the certifications on that Navy batch. Mill receipts, import documents, everything. Liam, we've already verified, Monica began. Verify it again. Monica's smile didn't waver, but something cold flickered in her eyes. Grace was dismissed. She rode the subway home in a daze. Her phone buzzed an unknown number. This is Liam Hill, logistics coordinator at Carter Atelier. Mr. Carter would like to see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Please come. That night, Grace couldn't sleep. She lay in the small apartment she shared with her mother and sister, listening to the radiator clank and neighbors argue through thin walls. Her mother slept in the next room, breathing labored even with the oxygen machine humming steadily. Grace thought about her father, who used to take her to the garment district when she was small, who taught her to feel the difference between cotton and linen, real silk, and polyester imposters. True hands will always find what's true, he'd say, pressing samples into her palms like sacred objects. He'd believed this shy girl had a gift. She'd believed it too once. Now she wondered if that gift was about to destroy her life. The next morning, Grace stood outside Carter Atelier headquarters, a gleaming midtown tower. The receptionist looked her up and down second-hand peacoat canvas sneakers and made her wait 20 minutes. Liam Hill met her in the lobby, younger than expected, maybe 24, with kind eyes. Thanks for coming, he said warmly. I know this seems strange. He led her to a private office on the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Liam Carter sat behind a glass desk, Monica standing beside him. 5 fabric swatches lay on the desk, each numbered. I'm going to blindfold you, Liam said, standing. I want you to touch each sample and identify it. Just honesty, no pressure. Monica's posture radiated skepticism. Grace's hands trembled as Liam tied a silk scarf over her eyes. The world went dark. She heard only her own breathing, too loud in the silence. Liam placed the first swatch in her hands. She explored the weave with her fingertips, felt the weight, the texture, how it responded to pressure, brought it close and inhaled real wool, carried faint lanolin, earthy and animal. She rustled it near her ear. Merino wool, she whispered. Australian or New Zealand. Mid-weight. Authentic. Silence. Then the second swatch. This felt different immediately. Too smooth. Too perfect. She pressed it between her fingers and heard that telltale plastic whisper. Synthetic blend, she said. Polyester with silicone coating to fake softness, pretending to be cashmere. It's not. She heard Monica shift her weight. Third, fourth, fifth. Grace identified each silk, linen, cotton, poly blend, virgin wool. When Liam removed the blindfold, his expression had transformed. He looked at her the way her father once had, like she was remarkable. 5 for 5, he said quietly, including the silicone treatment not listed on any label. Monica's jaw tightened. Lucky guesses. She could have studied the samples yesterday. She wasn't in this room yesterday, Liam said. These came from a different collection entirely. He turned to Grace. How did you learn this skill? My father was a fabric buyer. He taught me everything. I studied at FIT for 3 years before. She stopped. Before wasn't their business. Liam studied her for a long moment. Then he said words that changed everything. Maybe you're the expert I haven't found yet. Monica's laugh was sharp. You're going to trust a housekeeper over someone who's worked with Milan suppliers for 8 years. Be serious, Liam. I am serious, Liam said softly. I trust what feels true. His words hung in the air. This shy girl had just been called an expert by a millionaire CEO, and in that moment, Grace realized her invisible life was over. But when you threaten to expose the truth, what happens to the people who've been hiding it? Grace spent the next week in limbo, still working at the Halden, but now Monica was demanding she verify more samples, a test Grace slowly realized was designed for her to fail. Thursday afternoon, Monica summoned her to a small testing room at Carter Atelier. Since Mr. Carter considers you so talented, Monica said with a smile that never reached her eyes, let's put that to use. We have a media briefing tomorrow. I need you to verify these materials before we present them. 6 swatches lay on the table. Grace examined the first. Cashmere. Real. The second quality wool blend. The third felt immediately off. Smooth but wrong. She rubbed it between her fingers, brought it to her ear. This one, she said hesitantly. Something's not right. You think, Monica's voice sharpened. We don't deal in uncertainty here, Grace. Is it authentic or not? Grace pressed the fabric again. The texture confused her. Softer than expected, but the drape seemed correct. I believe it's synthetic, but it's very well made. Monica made a note. Interesting. Continue. The 4th and 5th samples Grace identified easily, but the 6th troubled her deeply. It felt genuine, yet something in the surface seemed off. She spent 5 minutes examining it. Real, Grace finally said. Possibly treated with fabric softener, but the base fiber is authentic. Monica smiled. Thank you. That will be all. The next morning, Grace woke to 17 missed calls. She called Liam Hill back with shaking hands. Grace, what happened? His voice was strained. 2 samples you verified were wrong. The briefing's been postponed. Mr. Carter is questioning everything now. Grace's blood went cold. That's impossible. I was careful. Monica said you seemed uncertain, that you kept changing your answers. I didn't change anything. I told her exactly what I felt. But doubt crept in. Had she been wrong? Had her gift failed when it mattered most? By noon, she was in the hotel manager's office. Grace, I'm sorry, but we're letting you go. Carter Atelier has raised concerns about your involvement in their confidential processes. We can't have staff who compromise client relationships. I didn't compromise anything. The decision is final. Please return your badge and uniform. Grace walked into cold October rain that felt personal. She stood at the subway entrance, staring at her hands. These hands her father had trained. These hands that had just betrayed her. She made it home somehow. collapsed on the couch.